Welcome to Champ Talk with Branden Hudson. I am back in action with my favorite co-host, Mr. Chett in the building. But before I get him on the ones and twos, guys, you know the drill. Please like and subscribe to our platforms. More importantly, listen, before we go into that, more importantly, if you could share this with somebody that you think would get value from it, or leave us a review. You know what I mean? Leave us that 5-star review if you get a 5-star experience. Or you get a 5-star, message. But yeah, that would be great, man, if we could just get a review. And more so, I'm not really necessarily worried about how well we do well. More so just talk about what Champ Talk's done for you and how it's impacted your life. And if we're not doing a very good job, I'd like to hear that too. So it's not like I'm driving traffic to try to get people to come into Champ Talk doors. I just, we want to get better. We want to provide value. But without further ado, Mr. Chett Corman in the building, bro. What's up, man?
All kinds of things.
Yeah.
There's just things up.
What have you been up to?
I'm up.
What have you been up to?
Well, last night I was up. Why? I don't know. Maybe it was the residual of the full moon. I know I've mentioned this, but
yeah,
I don't know. So can we again,
reset our chakras? Or a vagus nerve.
Vagus nerve, yeah. So anything that helps.
Well, it's interesting you say that about the vagus nerve, because that's one of the issues that I'm finding out that I potentially have wrong with my gut health. I've talked about it. We had Dante on here not too long ago talking about it, and I've been
your second brain.
My second brain. I've been 6 weeks, maybe 7. I can't even remember at this point, off caffeine entirely, and because one, the acid buildup could potentially make your stomach bloat, but more so the sleep. So I've been struggling to get sleep, struggling to calm my body down after being in war all day. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Physically on the mats and in business and doing all the things. And I'm talking with a GI specialist, a GI psychologist, and a GI dietitian, right? And it's a frustrating process. But because it's so slow. But one of the things,
also because it's multi-pronged.
Yeah,
and that's what a lot of people don't get. They think it's just one thing. And here, take this tablet, you'll be fine. No, you gotta check it out from all angles, because everything's related. It's
so frustrating, man. But one of the things is she's talking about, I need to do like a little quick meditation, some breath work, some box breathing, things like that, or belly breathing, to shut down from one, dynamic of, whatever it may be, war, battle, business, real estate, all the above, anything less, to the next, thing that I do. So they say basically I'm just not winding down, which makes sense, so.
Because even though they're different things in your mind, they're different things, and in the world out there, they're different things, but your body a lot of times processes things the same way. So it's all stress. You're in battle mode. You're in, flight or fight. You're all these things because your body's reacting to it in that way.
Yeah, you're right, because I don't notice when I'm stressed. Like, I don't know when I'm dealing with stress. I take it on the chin and go with it, right? Where others, they can tell and recognize their stress. But you're right, it's still hitting me, and it's still hitting my body.
I got a good example of that long time ago, and I was going through a whole bunch of stuff, but I went to the emergency room two times in a week and a half, and the second visit, and I thought I was having a heart attack. And they're checked everything, no, you're good. And I was teaching a couple classes a day and training myself, and the doctor was like, you're the kind of person who thinks you can handle everything, and you usually do, and you're kind of used to that. And whether you put yourself in that position or other people have, that's where you are. But your body's finally telling you need to just slow the fuck down, and you need to, because if not, it's going to shut you down on its own to protect you. It's that was kind of the.
Isn't it crazy that we can do that?
Yeah, but the thing, what she says, you don't even realize.
Yeah,
you don't even realize you're in it, because you're in it all the time, so it's normal.
Yep.
And so you just deal with things, and yeah.
No, I know, man. I've just been conditioned. I really don't get stressed out mentally. I don't see it, but it's hit me somewhere. Are you the kind of sleeper or can't sleeper that brain's running with thousands of things in his mind? Really? Yeah. So
even if I'm physically tired, it's you try all the things, turn off the phone, turn off the TV, put on, music that's not necessarily stimulating music. So I've tried everything, even supplementation, diets, times of eating and not eating, and, no caffeine. And I've limited that. But even cutting that off at a certain point, sometimes it's no problem. Sometimes it's easy to get to sleep, but staying asleep, fall asleep. It's like, oh man, I fell asleep before the news even came on last night. But then I wake up and it's like, oh fuck, it's still dark. Well, let me guess. Put $1 on. It's going to be 3. Yep, it's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Just like wide awake. 3
You got to
a.m.
stop doing that.
Wide awake.
Whenever you wake up at night, my wife taught me that. Whenever I wake up at night, stop looking at the clock to see what time it is. Because I would do that. I would wake up like, oh, I only got an hour left.
It's not like a game with my, because I nail it every time.
Yeah, but you got to stop looking. You got to make trick your. I know I was the same way, Chett.
I woke up the other morning. It was 4:20. I was like,
break.
Yeah, maybe is that a hint? I don't know.
Yeah, I stopped looking at the clock because I did the same thing. I would just. She said that basically her ex-husband, she would look at he would wake up in the middle of the night and look at the clock, and then she's sleeping. He'd be like, fuck, what the fuck? You'd make a big deal about it. She's like, bro, you're only making it worse on yourself. So she told me, I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Yeah, I am not one of those people that sit up thinking. I sit up scrolling or sit up, doing work, but I don't sit up thinking and million thoughts. They don't run through my brain, man. It's one of the weirdest things. I've had it happen maybe once or twice just with things that like I'm really trying to figure out and kind of popped in. And I have a complex situation, at all times, I'd like to think, but I had that happen a couple of times, and I've had like restless nights. Like last night we had the SBY MMA takeover at Jolly Rogers.
Yes.
So for the millions of listeners that are listening that are not local, Jolly Rogers.
For those of you listening at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Jolly Rogers is a water park here at Ocean City, Maryland. It's where we're from. And we do an annual takeover every year, and it's such a blast. What we do is we just take it over. We get a couple cabanas, and everybody comes and brings stuff, and the kids go one way, the parents go another. I'm always with the kids because I'm just a big kid. But we're all just like playing and connecting and stuff like that. And it's just a hoot, man. It's a great time. It's a fun day. But, man, I forgot to apply sunscreen. And I got a little burned up, and man, I felt it all night sleeping, just moving and things like that. So that kept me awake a little bit, but overall, but the sleep part, man, the sleep is definitely they said the sleep is the cousin of death. And I always thought that it meant that if you slept too much, you were wasting your life. But as more and more I learn and get older, I'm realizing that it's, if you don't sleep enough, it's killing you.
But see, I'm also one of those people, obviously sometimes your body will, like, you don't have a choice. Like you're going to sleep. Like it just happens. Right. Yeah. And hopefully you're on your sofa or your bed, not behind the wheel or something like that. Right.
I've done that before.
Or nodding off at a bars, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just to make it work. But, I always have that feeling like, not that I'm missing something, but I feel like I've wasted time. Like if I sleep too late, like, oh man, I woke up at 7 a.m. I'm used to waking up at 5, it's like, what, I should have been doing something. Or if it's the middle of the day on a weekend and really there's nothing pressing, there's nothing on the schedule, there's nothing that I have to do. It's like, oh fuck, I fell asleep for like 2 hours and then just kind of, I don't know. It's just it's just me like, oh man, I could have been doing something,
Chett, I'm gonna go out on that. You ever talk to a psychiatrist, man? You ever thought about talking to a therapist?
Yeah.
And you do?
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan. I mean, I'm kind of in between. I like the outlet. I don't like I heard something great today, man. It was on a podcast. I cannot remember the name of the gentleman, but it was on an Ed Milet podcast. And the guy had like a name that was, not common name. It was, I can pull it right up right now. But he was saying basically, he's wrote a couple books. He was saying basically, his name is Humble the Poet. Yeah, and he's got a lot of good stuff out there. And what he said is basically, our friends will sit here and listen when we're having problems, but they'll want to help us fix our problems because the empathy. Well, basically, when they start, the empathy is one side of it, but when we start telling our problems to our friends, it triggers the response in their mind about their problems. So quickly they want to give you insight and tell you how they feel. And then he said, or how to fix it. Then he said, basically, a therapist, however, will charge you by the hour and just ask you questions. how's that make you feel? What do you plan to do with that? This, that, the third. So he's like, man, that probably should be switched up and be back. It's backwards. The therapist, since they're charging an hour and getting you to come back over and over again, should probably give you more solution based and plan of actions. And the friends should be a little bit more, just listening and be there for you since they've got your back. And
Right.
I'm open. Here's the thing. I've got a lot of personal feelings towards therapy. There's a little bit of bias. There's a little bit of, anti, whatever works and helps you out, you know what I mean, to get you right. But, at the end of the day, I think that, you should utilize them as a tool, which they are, as a resource, which they are, and not as a crutch and things like that. But I think it's good for everybody to have that outlet. I think everybody should have somebody they talk to that's unbiased, it's professional, and, can give perspective and tools to take and manage in life. I don't necessarily think that, you should be taking your kids to therapists because every time they ride by the school, they got bullied a little bit. They have anxiety. I struggle with that because I think that there's been research that I've looked into and I've heard about that basically kids can't really decipher what's really working for them and not because they're so impressionable and so inexperienced. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times the therapist, which could be a potential biased therapist who, says, hey, instead of taking the schizophrenic who has violent outbursts through our sessions, I'm going to take the soccer mom's kid who's, they're going to pay on time and, we can get them out to where they be. And you've seen a lot of this stuff when you're talking about the youth and the transgender topic and, giving youth hormone blockers at an early age and things like that. You know what I mean? You're seeing a lot of situations. And I think that's like that's a tricky place where, like, when kids are involved with it, there could be a potential harm where they don't know what to do and they're just going by what they said.
It's always hard to tell too. I mean, kind of an analogy. When my youngest one, when she was really little, she ended up with a really bad staph infection. Yeah, that we think came from her mom visiting her dad, who was in hospice. Right. So short version is, goes to the doctor one time and they're like, oh, it's just really bad cold, maybe, possibly flu, would, just treat, has to go back. And then they're like, no, there's something else going on, to the point where they scare us to death saying her white count's so high, you need to contact the cancer division. Oh, wow. Yeah. And because the infection was so bad at this point, but they didn't catch anything the first time. It's because they see 100 kids coming in a day and it's a cold or allergies or whatever. So it's finding a lot of times, a lot of times it's finding the right doctor, the right situation, somebody who looks a little deeper into that and then can decide, well, is this, and same thing goes, with your mind. Obviously, if you're talking about a psychiatrist or a psychologist, a therapist, finding that person that's going to take that look to see what's appropriate. Yeah. Versus, like you're saying, like, because I mean, let's face it, they're professionals like anybody else, and there's different degrees and layers to that. Oh, yeah. Just like a mechanic, just like a doctor, just like anybody else. So,
well, there's always that good therapy of taking them to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah,
and combat sports. That's always that's always where I'm going to be biased. And I didn't mean to segue into that or move the conversation that way, but that's I mean, look at the case studies that we have and the. If people don't know, we're pushing back up to around 350, 400 members again. And, and this is in this economy. That's what's crazy. It's like, this is not, I don't care what anybody tries to sell you. I mean, this economy is a pretty rough economy. People are struggling.
Yep.
I mean, there may be growth in certain sectors and certain areas, you know what I mean? And that's great. But the common blue collar worker and lower class workers are still, 2-3 jobs, struggling, trying to get, make ends meet. And the business owners, a lot of the business owners are struggling because, everything's high, everything's up. There's, and I don't want to get political with it, but, I mean, it only has been, about 150 days since we've had a new change, so it does take time for these things to work out. So I give them grace on, hey, look, we've got still some plans. That's fine. But there's really not been nothing moved. The needle's not been moved. And, whether you believed in the last administration or not, there's definitely was some major kinks in that one as well. But we're still seeing, with all those factors that are happening in the economy, people signing up and continually sign up. I just answered a DM. I mean, I get a DM every single day at this point, personally. Not to mention, what we get,
The leads that come in.
the leads that come in and the emails and all that stuff through the page and the websites.
I mean, I think a lot because some people will get to the point where they realize it's something that's very important and they realize it's an investment, as much as it is another, monthly bill that they have to take care of. But then, especially when it comes to your kids, I mean, what's the limit? And unfortunately, a lot of people can't. They just can't.
Yeah.
Because do we keep the lights on and feed the kids, or do we send them to karate?
Yeah.
You get that.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
and that's why we offer scholarships, because our sponsors help pay for the kids, our sponsors that pay for the gym help pay for the kids, tuition, as well as our membership, I should say, not tuition, membership that helps pay for the uniforms, the equipment, the time we take in. So, that's why, but I'm sorry, couldn't mean to cut you off.
I mean, just the point is people, and whether it's for themselves or for their kids, if they realize that it is that important to them, then they're going to find a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what we've seen through this economy is like people have really found ways or just have made it a priority. And I had so many kids at the weekend yesterday at the SBY Day, Jolly Rogers, say, this is the only thing that our kids stuck with. They've played soccer, they've played baseball, football, basketball, they played all the other sports, but this is the only thing that they really stuck with, you know what I mean? And, they say, look, Coach Branden, if you tell them to go, jump off the moon, they're going to do it for you because they believe in you and they feel that, that trust. But we've definitely seen case study after case study how many kids that it's improved and helped, and they've carried those skills. And I think also, that the coaching and the people who are instructing make a big difference as well.
Oh, huge.
Because, we can just teach the kids martial arts. We can teach them combat sports and let them do their thing, but we can't teach them to be leaders unless we try, unless we focus on actually giving them leadership tools, examples, and forcing them to do that. And if you're not a really good leader yourself, if you're only a good instructor or a good person in the class, they're going to mimic that behavior. With children, it's not what's taught, it's what's caught, especially from parents. So, anybody that's around them that has any kind of influence on them is going to impact them in a way that they're going to mimic the behavior.
Well, this is interesting. And, it's not, if you look at it surface and just like one of the parents or somebody that would walk into the gym and you see right before, say, between 4:30 and 5 o'clock in jiu-jitsu class, and they're running around being crazy. And, I've had talked to him a couple times, but then, so after a couple times and picking out who was doing what, then I went to the couple of them that are a little more outgoing, the ones that are kind of there first, kind of the leaders. You start identifying, like, when your friends come in, your classmates come in, you need to tell them. And they know. And I say, well, if you guys mess up today, how many burpees are you getting?
Yeah.
They know the number. They remember it from the week before. 35. Like, yep. You didn't forget that, did you? So when your friends get here and you see them, they're starting to mess up, and you know what you're allowed to do and what you're not, you need to say something. And I see them, they go over there like, guys, we're going to get in trouble. We're going to, we're supposed to do that. And that's just him. And then when Coach Branden gets up here, then he's going to make, and so it's exactly what you're saying. You got to have that. If you don't, not say force them, but if you don't kind of help them along, on that path and kind of show them the way, and they're, that grows from within. And it's just been kind of an interesting little side experiment, I guess, to see that.
Oh, when I come up now, they're sitting on that. They're sitting down, just all good as gold,
but
right
getting
now.
them to police themselves, hey, check yourselves and check your friend, and be like, hey, guys, we're in this class, we're in this together, and we're all.
And that's the leadership stuff that we talk about. That's a great example,
But we see it with all the coaches. I mean, the technical stuff is one thing, but the all the other stuff.
I'm going to have to be honest with you, man. And that's because of me. You know what I mean? Like and that is not I'm not trying to sound cocky or conceited. That I have to. Here's the thing, right? If I'm the leader of the ship, and I'm the owner, and I'm the head coach, or whatever you want to call me, and I'm not living up to the same core values that I'm preaching, that shit's going to be eventually exposed. People are going to see that shit. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean I walk on water, or doesn't mean I don't have my own issues or make mistakes. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if I'm not living by the code and the core values and living the shit that I talk about, these coaches aren't going to do the same thing. So then when it's twofold. When I impact them by example, you know, they like to mimic the behavior as well, just like the kids. When I have to have a correction or an accountability conversation, right, then it goes a lot farther and it sticks more when I'm living that same core value in the same life that I'm holding them accountable for.
And a lot of those coaches, I'll say all of them that are still here, and they're here for a reason, is because they already have part of that is already there, and whether they're using it or not, or it's been brought out, it's definitely there. And one of the reasons they're here, because we've had other people, I'm not shitting on anybody, but other people that have been here kind of going through the motions, and you might have been good technically, showing somebody how to do something. Yeah. But that's where it you clocked in and clocked out and just went through the motions and, checked off a box or two and then went on your way. And
people feel that. They feel that energy. Yeah. They see that energy. Yep. So, I've had to live the same way that I preach, and we've had the coaches that feel that and they respond to that. Here's the thing. I'm not selling anybody fucking snake oil. I'm not selling anybody anything that, you know what I mean, that isn't good for you. And then look, dude, like, I live a great life. I mean, I live a fantastic life. I mean, I have a lot of shit that I got to deal with on a daily basis, like us all. But, I like to put my life that I live in a box where, like, hey, this is a great life. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean I'm not where I want to be in many areas, but at the same time, I'm not going to tell you I live a bad life. If I'm telling you that I got a bad life or shit's going on, I'm going to make some changes personally. I'm not going to sit here and just continue to expect external things happening to me that's going to make things better. I'm going to go out here and I'm going to figure it out. If I've got to say out of my mouth, dude, shit is fucked up, I'm living a bad life, I'm going to go figure that shit out before so I can get back into it's a good life type of feel before I sit here and, keep harping on that and expecting the same results coming from the insanity that I'm driving myself. But the kids see that. The kids see all of that. The kids see the way that the coaches, the way that everybody, interacts, and they thrive. This has been the best summer we've ever had. Last year was the best summer we had. Each summer gets better as far as like attendance, sign-ups, retention, people actually, getting the breakthroughs that they need. We have seen such a huge jump in all numbers across the board, you know what I mean? But more so this summer. And for people that don't understand, like in Salisbury, right, it's different from down like in Ocean City in the Berlin area, right? There's a couple gyms down there that, are pretty packed, doing well right now, right? Well, it's the season, right? I know Infinity does very well throughout the year. And I give them props, because Mike's done a great job with his program, Mike Otwell.
Especially the kids too.
Yeah, especially the kids, you know what I mean? But I know that they do really well out there, throughout the season. But they really jump in the summer, just because there's more people down there, there's more stuff like that. For us, we die, you know what I mean? The summer for gyms, and I've talked about this before, you have we're a 3 college town, so all the college kids are gone. They go to the beach to work, or they go back home. We have we're 3/4 surrounded by water, so vacation sports, water sports, all that stuff. People are the schedules aren't the same, so parents have a hard time with being able to honor the schedule. And then it's just one of those things where it's like it's just never been popular in Salisbury for the gym. We have completely slapped that stigma in the face and turned it around. And a lot of it is our kids, man. Our kids are really just, and then another thing is we've got like 9 kids that, teenagers that they're on their way to make their MMA debuts coming up, that it's going to really take the area by storm. And people that listen to this and know, they know we put out good quality fighters. So, we've got a handful of those guys that are like all wrestling, doing jiu-jitsu, doing kickboxing, Muay Thai boxing, all of it, like they're all in. So
it's cool to see that too, especially the ones that have come up.
Yeah, especially when they were little kids and things like that, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. But it's just been a great eye opener for us for the summer, and we've seen so many of these children that our lives are just changing. And we're coming into the school year now. By the time you guys see this will probably be like the end of August, roughly. We're coming into the school year, and it's something that parents really need to think about and consider. getting their kids into combat sports. You know, and not just kids, everybody needs it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing hard things and you're putting yourself against, your back against the wall, or your back on the mat, or against the cage, whatever you want to speak about, when you're doing hard things and you're pushing yourself where there's no fucking reward at the end. Your reward was you survived better than you survived last time. But it's not a situation like where you're getting banged in the face and like that old school karate training that was horrible for your joints and everything. Like it's a systemized process that is putting you in a different mental space. Each time you do these things that are hard over and over and over again, it builds up a resilience that you can do with anything in life. You know, when you're going into a combat sports gym and you're working out, you know, everybody thinks that the combat sports is just about actually fighting another person, right? But there's so many elements and layers to combat sports, and there's so many whys and reasons what people are here for. So when you're taking something like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai or boxing or wrestling or something like that, and you're constantly going through that grind daily, you know, where you're just trying to get sharper, just trying to get better. Even the greats are always trying to get better at something. You're building such a callous and a resilience of grit that is unexplainable to the person who doesn't do it. The person who doesn't do it, you can't really explain that. You can't necessarily put that into layman's terms for them because they don't grasp what that means. They hear the challenge and the mountain they have to climb. They don't get that, you know, that mountain climbs with one step at a time, and just over time, those steps compound, and over years it compounds and compounds and compounds, and you're a whole different person. You know, none of this shit that I have or have done, have created, the gym, the podcast, you know, speaking on stages, the real estates, the championships, the Hall of Fames, all that cool stuff that I can throw up on the wall that my family doesn't give a shit about, right? But you know, your close ones don't care; they just love you. But all that stuff, the accolades I can brag about, none of that, you know what I mean, would have come from without that grind and that hard, you know, callousness of stepping up day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. It doesn't mean that you have to train like a mad person or, you know, destroy your body or your brain cells. It just means like there's just so many elements to it that just helps you be so resilient, man.
Yeah, and you don't know until you're in it, and then you think you know, and then you hit another plateau, and it's like it's a whole different
or a brick
thing.
wall, you know.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
natural progression, right?
Yeah, and for the children, I mean, you know, they're so much more resilient just to themselves. You know what I mean? Like they're so just blank pieces of paper that resilience really sticks deep for them. Really, really, it goes deeper than just the level. You know, it's like, man, this is something that, you know, hey, I mean, I've seen countless kids come through here. You know, we've got kids that have lost over 100 pounds. I got 2 kids right now in the gym. Both have lost over 100 pounds. That's a lot of fucking weight. Yeah. That's another kid.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Shit, depending on what age, 2 more kids, right?
And then then there's the you know, the psychological, the emotional, all the stuff that goes along with that. That's,
oh yeah.
And we see it all the time. People come in for, you know, I want self-defense. I want, okay.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I want to learn how to fight.
And it's
never that.
It goes so much like that. I'm glad that's what brought you in, for sure. I'm glad however you found us.
Yeah.
But you're going to be really surprised in a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years, where things go for you.
Yeah. And people also overestimate what they can get done in 5 years, and they underestimate what they can get done in a year. You know, and I tell my students all that. When I first started jiu-jitsu, for an example, I thought a purple belt was just so like unfathomable. I thought it was just so far out of the realms to reach, you know what I mean? And the only reason why I started jiu-jitsu at that time, because I was ignorant to the fact and naive to the fact, was, well, then I can teach, right? Then I could teach jiu-jitsu. And, you know, once I got the purple belt, I'm like, well, this is cool, but I only want the black belt. And then once you get the black belt, you find out you're starting all over, you know what I mean? Right. So it's like, you know, there's so many different these little nuances that you find out once you're in it. But yeah, the children, man, they build so much resilience and so much it just automatically ingrained in them because you get them early, where an adult can have, you know, that, oh, I got to go today, and you know, you can talk yourself out of it. You know what I mean? You got so much on your plate. But we've seen so many success stories, man. I've had there's been stories that I've forgotten about. One just popped in mind. This lady got in a car accident, and it wasn't serious, but it was, you know, she was shooken up pretty bad, and somebody was wearing the shirt, and they got out, and it was a kid. Got out, helped her, you know, like took charge. Like a teenager's driving, took charge of the situation from a woman that's, you know, his senior. And she's like, look, I didn't catch his name, and I just wanted to give a shout out. And they said that online that, you know, the SPY shirt was one of these kids that, you know, helped me and saved the day. And, you know, we've had kids that just went off. I mean, you know, one of us, I'm going to give a shout out to Braxton McCavey. Braxton was a little pudgy kid, started with us, you know what I mean? And, you know, he wanted to box, and he was boxing for a while. He was 2-0 as a amateur boxer. And next thing you know, he's getting into wrestling. And then all of a sudden, wrestling just grabbed his attention more than anything. That work ethic, though, that we put him through with boxing, you know what I mean, as what really helped him work, you know, transmute that into the wrestling room.
Right.
And the kid got, you know, which is a big deal for our area, you know, the kid got recruited from a public high school to, you know, pretty rough public high school at that, to, you know, a private school across the bridge in Baltimore, right, which pushed him into going to a college now. I think he's got a full ride in Kansas. And
he can still knock you out.
And he can still knock you out, but and then all he says is, "Coach, I can't wait to go out here, but you know, I'll be back because I want to do real estate." It's like that's what I want to get into. And it's like, you know, it's so cool because, you know, this kid has got his mind made up on where his dynamics. I'm just going out here to get some marketing and some business stuff. It's really for the wrestling. I could care less about the schooling, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm going to get into real estate with you, and that's what I really want to do. And he's got his mind made up. He's got the trajectory laid out, and. But a phenomenal kid. I mean, he's coming here now. He come back down for the off season, you know, back home, and he's in here helping all the kids, you know, punch kid. I mean, it's just, you know, you just see those leadership's qualities just keep transmuting and relaying, and it just keeps paying it forward over and over and over again. Speaking of paying it forward, really quick, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, SPY MMA and Fitness. Thank you, SPY, for paying for this podcast and supporting us. Guys, go to SPY for all your Eastern Shore combat sports need. We are the #1, we're voted best of for the fourth year in a row. The first year we got voted best of by Coastal Style. I didn't even know we were nominated. And I never asked. You do it. You'll put a post out there saying, hey, vote for us. But I never ask for anybody to vote for us. I don't put a post out. I'm not saying.
I just put it in the members.
No, I'm not mad at it. I'm just saying I'm not saying.
Don't ask, don't get.
I'm not saying it's not. Yeah, you're from marketing. I'm not saying it's not something that, you know, people shouldn't do. I just continue to just keep doing.
But I can tell you, as much as they pay attention to my posts when they leave stuff here all over the place and don't pick it up, I'm pretty sure they didn't pay attention to that either. So
yeah. But anyway, we got voted best for 2025. So best combat sports in Wycombe County. So we're proud of that. So check us out. And if you heard about SPY through the podcast, that would be even awesome if you let us know that. But big shout out to our sponsors. But yeah, you know, that's well, you know, let me ask you a question now that we've been talking about it. You know, what do you think's been working really well for us in the regards of signing up so many kids and signing up so many people to the gym this summer? I mean, there's a couple factors, but you know, you're seeing it on like a more of a black and white picture. What do you think's been working really well for us?
I think like one of the things that stands out is, you know, the old, what's the old quote? Something like, you know, families that play together stay together. And it's true. We see that here all the time. We've got families coming in, and so sometimes it's just the kids that are involved, and we're going with that is sometimes it's just the one kid wants to come in, but then, you know, the brother or sister's here, then they start watching, they start looking, then the questions come up, and then, you know, next thing they're in here together. They might even be competitive, which is, you know, and so they're essentially pushing each other. But then we had a family recently that came in, and they came in for, I think it was just 2 of the kids. Yeah. Ended up the whole family's in here like almost every day. Yeah. So, you know, so that is true. So that's one of the things I see a lot is, you know, people, I think once they get here and they see it and then they experience even a little bit, they're like, yeah, I like this. I like the way it feels. Everybody I've met, I think that's one thing that's cool too, is the existing members. Like for the kids class example, the parents that are hanging out and they're here waiting for their kids to get done with class. They're very friendly. They're making friends with the brand new people. They're welcoming, when they come in. So, again, just another part of the culture. And I think that's one of the big things. Just it's welcoming, it's inviting. It's not, they're not, you know, they're getting side. It's like, who are those people coming in here? It's like they actually walk up, introduce themselves. Hey, yeah, have a seat right here. I mean, it's 2 days into it, and you think they're best friends
Yeah.
sitting there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think that's some of the factors. And then
Yeah, I want to go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to. That goes back, just circles back to the whole thing about the culture and the people that we have in here and the coaches. Because I really push everybody to walk up to somebody. Like, it's one thing for the coach to do it. You know what I mean? You're going to hear somebody going to sell you on a program. Oh yeah, jiu-jitsu is great. Wow, MMA is great. But when you have the third party testimony or the third party thing, opening up the doors and say, hey, come on in. Let's get this money together. Let's go out here and train. Let's go have fun. Hey, this is how you do this. It really. I mean, we got a member now. He sticks around. He's in the boxing conditioning program, and I mean, dude, he's always helping anybody in that boxing. And now he's got his own little squad, and it's middle-aged guys that are all controlled sparring with each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're getting in there and they're sparring, and they're like, one of them had no intentions of. One of them just came in. He was just working out in the corner, doing his little thing. He just needed the one place. You know what I mean? And he's a pretty successful commercial realtor and or developer, and he's coming in here now, and he's now part of the crew, and it's cool to watch that. You know what I mean? Because ain't no reason why no middle-aged. I don't know why I still do it. I shouldn't be, but ain't no reason why no middle-aged man should be fighting these young studs and stuff like that. But then you'll have some of the fighters who are more experienced going there with them, and not give them too much, but give them enough to challenge them, and it's just like that camaraderie.
And the rest of the day they're kind of like low key.
I fought a fighter.
I was in there. Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
I would.
That's fucking awesome.
That's badass.
Who else gets? Who else does that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like who? Because in sales, it'd be great if there were thousands of people that were coming through this gate. But that's not the reality. It's a pretty small group of people that do this.
Yeah.
Like you say, you gotta be a little,
little off. Little off. But not to do the combat sports, but to get in there and want to start sparring it. Yeah, I'm with you, man. What else were you going to say? I cut you off before that, but you were about to say something else that was working really well.
Well, I think what's working well is what is working well. So things that are working well here, a lot of times we don't actually realize what the outcome is, how well it's working, until we get the kids that come in with, hey, this happened at school, but I was able to deal with it. So whether it was just, a verbal thing or, if they had to get physical, they were, like, I told you, leave me alone. Okay. Well, I did get in trouble, but okay. Well, you didn't start, but you were able to handle yourself and not get hurt. Or, hey, I went from all C's to I'm a straight A student. Now, we've seen
all D's and E's.
Yeah. We've seen
Baby went from D's and E's.
Right.
To, I mean, he's another great example of somebody who, we call him Man Baby because he's a huge 16-year-old. He's a huge 15-year-old, and he's got a baby face, but he's a man, and he will hurt you. But he's the sweetest kid in the world. And unfortunately, he had come home to his father, dead, and what I mean. That's what he came home to, and that kind of shook him up a little bit. And he lives with his grandparents. He has his issues, with the other parents. So there's some things that he's been battling, and I mean, he was
being a big kid. People want to test him too.
Yep. And he, what I mean, just completely has changed everything. His whole life has changed in the blink of an eye. And me watching him and giving him the love and the support he needs. And I think he's on his third year, or second or third year. I think he's third year. Yeah, I think I got him as a freshman. It's been a while. But I mean, he's just a completely different person, man. He's a phenomenal man. His faith is in order. He's just one of these good all around people. And he came in with E's and D's, and so I mean, the first time he got his grades up, he sent me the picture, brought it in. We put it on a refrigerator like we do at home, just to show like this is what our kids do. And he was just so proud of himself. You know what I mean? So proud of what he had accomplished. And I taught him how he could do difficult things. You know what I mean? He can do things that are difficult. And now he's one of the guys that are leaders, and that's the other kid I was forgot about that's potentially coming up in the ranks. That is it's just remarkable to see that, man, and witness that alone. You know what I mean? Just kids being proud of their report cards again.
Yeah.
Being proud of the fact that they, I got good grades. I want to show coach. Like of all people, you want to show me, like how flattering, man. And, the culture is definitely something that's very inspiring. And, it also helps, we have a couple cool things. We leased this space from this huge box club that is No Nonsense Box Club. You know what I mean? It's a no nonsense fitness gym. Look, we're not going to sit here and tolerate women, feeling uncomfortable. We're not going to. They don't do recording. They don't let, we got 8,000 members of this gym. They don't record. If you're going to record it ain't going to be during business hours. You do it, or during peak hours. You do it, on your off. Stuff like that is just like that culture infuses with another culture. And when people walk in here and see such a beautiful facility and such, an alliance with such a great gym, and then you get in there and the people are just cool and awesome and things like that, because we spent, 6 years here, 6.5 years, almost 7 years, not fighting with the other side of the fitness realm fence. We're
Right.
inviting them in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really worked, and you're seeing the residuals really pop off. And I'm really excited for the future, man. The future definitely looks bright. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Well, I think that'll wrap us up today, man. To give you the synopsis of the episode, sign up to a combat sports gym. Get your kids signed up. You sign up. You don't have to be a fighter to do this. I would always recommend doing your research, doing your vibe test. You know what I mean? If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. You know what I mean? Keep in mind that a lot of these gym owners and the people that you talk to are awkward as fuck. They don't, they don't always know how to communicate correctly. So give them a little grace on that. But again, vibe check. If it's not right, if it don't feel right, then don't do it. You know what I mean? And also, once you're in there, if you're just seeing some shit that ain't right, then get the fuck out of there, right? Because every industry has it. You always have people that are always going to, not live by the same standards of everyone else. And you just got to make sure that you're doing it by what's justice for you and your family and what's going to help grow. And then, ultimately, if you're in there for a year and so forth, or 6 months, and you really don't see any major growth in yourself or your children, then you might want to start questioning if that's the place for you as well. Not necessarily disagreeing with the coaches, because coaches are going to have their own perspective, their own way of doing things. But yeah, I mean, that's the big synopsis and summary of it all, man, is, combat sports, especially for kids, they're going to see the residuals more than just learning how to defend themselves and stick up to bullies. And that's, why we love it so much. But guys, until next time, hope to see. Please like and subscribe the channels. You know what I mean? Whatever platform you're on, leave us a 5-star review. I'd love to hear what you guys think of Champ Talk and how we can do better. And what are you doing today to become a champion?